Pokemon Scarlet. Today, I will be attempting to beat Pokemon Scarlet using only Mexican Pokemon. Now, there's actually not that many Mexican-based Pokemon. Only 4 of them are actually in Pokemon Scarlet. Both Hoopers are based on an Axolotl, which are only found in Lake Xochimilco. Cacturne is based on a Saguaro cactus, which is only found in Arizona and part of Mexico. And then probably the most obvious one, Hawlucha, look at him. It's like a luchador. And so that's gonna be my 4 Pokemon that I will try and beat this game. And I added some extra rules to make this even harder. I named myself Guillermo, which is my name in Spanish. Head downstairs and there's just this random creepy dude raising up my mom. Like, bro, get out of here.
Bombastic side eye.
I chose the best starter, but it won't matter. We won't be using it anyways. I beat Nimona and I got a fresh, delicious torta for my mom. After wandering around, I see this Pokemon just laying down. I try to give him my adventure guide, that way he can guide himself to a Pokemon Center. But I ended up giving him my torta, which gave him some superpowers. But after wandering off into the cave, my man got me out of the situation from the Houndoom and saved my life. But now it was time to catch Wooper. So I named him Ajolote, which is Axolotl in Spanish. After beating one of the Team Star grunts, Nimona decides to give me a Terra Orb. Ew, I don't want that. Terra Orb. After beating the second grunt without terrestrializing, and after finishing up the school, we can finally go on our treasure hunt. So I head to the first gym leader. Ooh, rare candy. So we take on the gym test first, which is to take the olive roll challenge. Since my Whoopie boy was gonna go against 3 Pokemon, I went to go buy leftovers, and I also made Protect TM and tied it to my Wooper. But now my Whoopie boy was ready to take on the gym leader. So I set up Toxic Spikes on the first turn, Poison Tail, the Nimble to death. Tarantula came out next. Since I set up Toxic Spikes, it was just poisoned up, and it was just a waiting game until it fainted from poison. And now it was the last Pokemon, the Teddy Ursa. Now I used the same strategy as Tarantula, which I stalled out using Protect and switch from Acid Spray to Protect, until finally the poison ended Teddy Ursa. And this is how my Whoopie boy took down all 3 other Pokemon. But I will say, this took so many restarts, but I finally got it done. But next up on the list is to take down my first Titan Pokemon, this Mr. Krabs looking thing. But once again, I use the same strategy as I did with the gym leader, which is poison it and stall it out. And after having a close call, my Whoopie boy was able to stall it out enough to defeat it with the poison. Now this second battle against Clough was much easier since I let Arvin do all the work. I just poisoned it and used Protect until Arvin finally took it down and my Whoopie boy took down his first Titan. He's so happy, look at him. Next up, I caught a Paldean Wooper and I traded it with this lady in Cascarafa City, and she sent me over a Jotonian Wooper named Manchester. And I couldn't change the nickname, but that's alright. But unfortunately, it was just over the level cap, and I head into the second gym with the 1 frame per second windmill. I found all of Sunflora and passed the gym test, but before I could challenge the gym leader, I needed 2 TMs since this was a grass type. I got Substitute and Amnesia, and the good thing about this Pokemon Scarlet, I can just go get him. So with his first Pokemon Petilil, it was his only special attacker, so I used Amnesia to reduce the HP in order to get it back with the leftovers. And then I Mud Slap it to lower the accuracy in order to set up the Substitute and go full HP into a second Pokemon. After taking it out with Acid Spray, Small Lift came out next, and once again I used Mud Slap to lower its accuracy and set up my Substitute once again and heal up with the leftovers in order to go full HP with its Sudowoodo. Now this last Pokemon, Sudowoodo, was a bit tricky, but after having some luck with the crit, my Whoopie boy was able to take it down with Acid Spray, and the Substitute helped a lot. But this was by far the hardest gym so far. I mean, I've only taken 2, but this was tough. But my single Whoopie boy got us the second gym badge. And now I'm able to use my second Whoopee, Manchester. After grinding up my Pokemon, both Whoopers are now evolving, so now I have a Quagsire and a Clodsire in my team. And my next destination was to take on the second Titan Pokemon. So I climb up the mountain and take on Bombardier, the Sky Titan. Now this was fairly easy since I had my Pokemon evolved, so my Clodsire just finished him off with Acid Spray. And then the second battle, I have Arvin in my team, and I end up taking it down with my Quagsire with the Water Gun. And that is the second Titan down. But now it was time to add the third member, Cacnea. I catch a level 20 Cacnea, name him Nopalitos, and now it was time to take on the first Team Star base. So after taking down the grunt at the gate and clearing 30 Pokemon in their base, but it was now time to face the first boss of Team Star, Yakumo. So this was fairly easy since I had Quagsire. I just mud-shot the Ponyard, and after carefully switching my Pokemon around, because I didn't want to lose any of my Pokemon, my Clodsire was able to take it down with a last mud-shot. And that was my first Team Star base won. But now I was ready for another gym, but before I could get into the third gym, I had to battle Nimona, which was fairly easy, so I just mud-shot 2 of her Pokemon, and then for her Floragato, I just poisoned it and stalled it out until eventually I won the battle. And now we can take on the gym test. After finding Dr. Clive and taking on the gym trainers, I was ready to challenge the third gym leader. First sent out Watro, poisoned it and stalled it out. Easy, no problem. Next up was Bellybolt. I switched into Quagsire and just mud-shot it. Easy, no problem. And lastly, Hermes Magus, however you're gonna call it. I poison jabbed it with my Clodsire, and it was poisoned from earlier to get me the third gym badge, which was fairly easy. After defeating the gym, there was this weird lady talking to me, but I was just paying attention to the cute little Jolteon just sleeping. But anyways, it was time to take down the next Team Star base. After taking down the grunt at the gate and taking out the 30 Pokemon in their base, it was now time to take on the second Team Starfight crew boss, Mela. So I started out with Quagsire since the Turco had drought. To counteract that, I used Rain Dance, and my Quagsire just water gunned the Turco to death and took down the Starmobile with a water gun as well. This was by far the easiest base so far. My Quagsire just destroyed this base. Next up was another Titan to take down, Orthworm. After finding him and chasing him around, my Quagsire destroyed Orthworm once again. After having to chase him down, me and Arvin take it on, but my Quagsire did all the work and took down the Orthworm. And that was the third Titan down. Now at this point, things seem to get a lot easier. Next up was the fourth gym. I see this guy with the big mustache beard run out, so I have to retrieve Kofu's wallet to him. I take on his assistance. For some reason he didn't trust me, but alright. I just destroy it with Quagsire. And he wants me to win an auction, and he gave me 50k. I mean, I don't know why you're giving a kid 50k and all this money, but I win the bid with 45,000. But before I could challenge the fourth gym leader, I bought a focus band just in case. But now it was time to challenge the gym leader, Kofu. So I started out with Ajolote. I poisoned the Veluza, switched to my Quagsire, and eventually stall it out, and the poison faints the Veluza. So I sent out Nopalitos to take down Work Trio, which was asleep from my Quagsire earlier, and luckily he got 3 hits and took down the Work Trio. But now it was time for his final Pokemon. Now at this point, I left Nopalitos out to Bullet Seed, and luckily he missed his slam, but the Bullet Seed was not enough. But once again, the slam missed, and I Leech Seed with my Nopalitos and switched to my Quagsire, which ended up fainting from the Leech Seed. And that was the fourth gym down. Pretty comfortably, I would say. But after grinding some levels up, my Cagnia finally evolved into a big boy Cacturn. But now I headed to the next Team Star base where I talked to Clive. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's the director. But after taking down the Team Grunt at the gate and taking down the 30 Pokemon, I was ready to take on the boss. But before I could do so, I taught Bulldoze to Quagsire and Clodsire since it was a poison based team, and now I was ready to take on Atticus. So I mud slapped the Skunk Tank with my Clodsire, switch to my Quagsire, and take down Revavroom with Mudshot, and then switch back to Clodsire and Bulldoze the Mug. And now the Starmobile was left, which I mud slap it to lower its accuracy. And then once I was ready, I switched back into my Quagsire, which he took it down with a last Bulldoze. And that was a Team Star base down. But now I bought myself a Focus Sash, so I gave that to Nopalitos. I went and found Sword Stance, which I taught Nopalitos. But now it was time to take on the next gym, the normal type gym. But now this gym, I had to think about my strategy. So once again, I used Mud Slap on Komala to lower its accuracy, and then switched to my Nopalitos, which I used Ingrain, and I set up my Sword Stance to sharply boost its attack. And then once I was max attack, I just Power Trip the Komala, Power Trip the Dunsparce, and finally I had to take down the Staraptor, but I had to be full HP in order for the Focus Sash to activate. So I just used Protect, and my Ingrain healed me up to full HP, and then once again one last Power Trip, and I took down the Staraptor with one hit. And my Nopalitos carry that gym. So now we have another gym down. But after defeating the gym, I had to battle Nimona, which I couldn't move my team around, so I had to go with the same team I challenged the gym with. But she starts out with Lycanroc, which I tried to set up my Nopalitos, but I end up taking it down with Clodsire. Gumi comes out next, and this is where I set up with my Cacturn. So I yawned the Gumi for it to go to sleep, switch to my Nopalitos, which he sets up Sword Stance, and then I just Power Trip just like it did with the gym leader. And this is how I end up taking my rival down with ease. But now I head into the next gym where MC Moist Critical helps me and guides me to the gym test after my Nopalitos carries through the gym trainers, and I end up challenging MC Moist Critical, and once again my Cacturn carries through the gym test. But now it was time for the gym leader. And after watching a random performance, I finally get to challenge the gym leader. So she starts out with Mimikyu and Sableye. Luckily, Mimikyu hit my Clodsire and activated Poison Point, so now it's poison. And then I also used Toxic on Bennett, so now they're both poison. So at this point, I needed to make sure it was a 2v1 against her Toxicity. So after taking down Mimikyu and setting up Raid Dance for my Quagsire, I used Toxic on the Houndstooth, which I can still somehow use even though it used Phantom Force. But after double teaming it, finally fainted, and the Bennett also fainted from the poison. So now it was a 2v1, just how I planned. Look at this cute little puppy. But after a couple of Aqua Tails, my Quagsire was able to take down the Toxicity with ease, and that was another gym down. But now, the most exciting part, I finally get the last member of the team, Hawlucha. But luckily there's just Hawlucha, which always spawns here in this cave, and it's a hasty nature, which is pretty good, and it makes him fast. So after getting a Hawlucha and naming him Rey Mysterio, I mean it's pretty obvious, I take down the next time with my Quagsire. I mean it's a ground fighting, so I just Aqua Tail it the first time, and then the second time I do the same thing. So now we have another time down, and Arvin makes me a sandwich. But before I could take down the 7th gym, Nemona wants to fight me once again. But now I get to show off my amazing Hawlucha. Set up Sword Stance, and then just use Flying Press and destroy her team. But after doing some cringy dances and take down the gym trainers, it was now time to take on the 7th gym leader. So since it was a psychic type gym leader, I couldn't really set up with Halucha because it was gonna faint either way. So I used Nopalitos instead. I tried to set up sword stance and make sure I outspeed everything. So I taught him Troll Base. And after taking down her first Pokemon with Leech Seed, using Power Trip on the Gardevoir, I go for one more Sword Dance and take down her Espathra. But now it was time for her Ace, which one hit with the Power Trip takes it down. And once again, my Nopalitos carried through that gym. By now, I went straight to the 8th gym after the 7th gym, take on the Snow Slope Run, which was pretty easy. I mean, I don't know what kind of challenge was that. But it was now time to challenge Grusha. This time I used Halucha and set up Sword Stance. Luckily it missed a Blizzard, so I used Flying Press on Frostmoth, take it down easy. Do the same thing with Beartick. Now Cetian was able to hit me with a move, but luckily my Halucha survived, so I used Flying Press again. And then once again Altaria goes down with the Flying Press. And now that was the final gym done. Next up was the Fairy type Team Star base. And after getting Poison Jab, I taught it to my Halucha since it was a fairy. You know, they're weak against poison. So he starts out with a Zoomeril. Once again, I lower its accuracy 5 times with Cloudsire, switch into my Rey Mysterio, and set up Sword Sense to a max attack. And then just Poison Jab the rest of the team. And then the Starmobile took 2 Poison Jabs. But this was an easy Team Star base boss. Now I went straight into their last Team Star base and took down the Grunt and take on Eri or Eri. Eri? But I think you guys know where this is going. I start out with Cloudsire, Mud Slap the Toxicroak to lower its accuracy, make it go to sleep with Yawn, and then set up Sword Stance onto a max attack on my Halucha, and Aerial Ace the Toxicroak. Same thing with Annihilate, again with Lucario. And then lastly the Passimian, and all was left was the Starmobile, which I Aerial Ace twice, and that was the last Team Star boss down. But now Cassiope wants to meet up at the back of the school. But before I could do that, I had one last time left, Dondalzo. So after beating it the first time with my Quagsire, and taking it down again with Arven, Tazugiri was left, and I took it down with ease, no problem. But now the saddest part of the game, I cried the first time. If you didn't cry, you have no feelings. But his Mabo Stiff was full health already. And now I was ready to challenge Elite Four. After failing the test once, but getting it the second time, I challenged the first Elite Four member, Rika. Wishcelt comes out first, but luckily it missed a Blizzard, so my Nopalitos was able to Bullet Seed, and it got 3 hits. Camera Up came out next, but my Nopalitos couldn't take a hit from it, so I switched out to Manchester, my Quagsire. So I Aquatail Camera Up. Donphan came out next, so I used Toxic on it, and then switched into my Halucha to set up a Swords Dance, and Drain Punch the Donphan to get some health back, Drain Punch the Duck Trio, and last but not least, I Drain Punch the Cloudsire once, and take it down with an Aerial Ace to defeat the first Elite Four member. But I think you guys know what's gonna happen. But next up, Poppy, the Steel type user, the second Elite Four member. I start out with Cloudsire, Mud Slap the Cabaraja, switch into Quagsire to make it go to sleep, and you guessed it, I set up Sword Stance on my Halucha and Drain Punch the Cabaraja. I had to teach my Halucha Thunder Punch in order to take down Corviknight, Thunder Punch the Magnezone to get rid of the Sturdy, but I was forced to switch back into Quagsire and Earthquake the Magnezone. I used Yawn on the Bronzong to make it go to sleep, and switch into Nopalitos, my Cacturn, and set up Sword Stance with him instead of Halucha. And I take down Bronzong with the Power Trip, and then one hit KO the Tinkaton, and that was the second Elite Four member down. I was Larry again, the third Elite Four member. I mean, it's pretty easy. He used flying types. I set up Sword Dance with Halucha, teach him Rock Slide, and Rock Slide the Tropius, Rock Slide the Staraptor, Rock Slide the Altaria with the crit, Rock Slide the Oricorio, and last but not least, Rock Slide one last time the Flamigo. Now it was time for the last Elite Four member, Hassel, the dragon user. So I started out with Quagsire, use Yawn on Noivern to make the go to sleep, and try and set up Sword Dance with Halucha. I use Rock Slide on Noivern, it takes it down. I Rock Slide the Dragalge, Drain Punch the Flapple to get my HP back, Drain Punch the Hexers to get my HP back, just in case I needed my Focus Sash to activate. But not least, Baxcalibur, I used Drain Punch once, but luckily I predicted and I wasn't able to take it down with one hit, so my Focus Sash activated, and after another hit, I take down and defeat the last Elite Four member. It was time for the champion, Gera. I start out with Nopalitos my Cacturn, use Payback on her Spatter, it takes it down. She sends out Go-Go, I send out Cloudsire in order to poison it and Poison Jab it, but I'm forced to switch again into Nopalitos and the poison takes it down. She sends out Avalugg next. I stall it once with Protect in order to get some HP back with my leftovers on Cloudsire. Switch into Quagsire, use Yawn to make the go to sleep, and you guessed it, I set up Sword Dance with Halucha, Drain Punch the Avalugg twice, close combat the King Gambit. Now I had to close combat the Veluza twice, but luckily I had my Focus Sash, and last but not least, I close combat one last time the Glamora, her ace. Now I'm a champion. But after meeting with Nemona outside the Elite Four, she wants to battle one last time, but before I could, I had to battle Arven. Now Arven was fairly easy since he had rock types, normal types, dark type, so my Halucha sets up Sword Dance, Drain Punch the Greedent, Drain Punch the Skull Villain, Drain Punch the Gargonacle, Aerial Ace the Toadscrew, Close Combat the Cloyster, and last but not least, Close Combat his ace, Mabosstiff. But now we need 2 more people in order to get to Area 0, so I had 2 battles left, or 3, with Clavel. I do the same strategy I've been using this whole run. I Mud Slap with Cloudsire to lower its accuracy, and use Yawn to make it go to sleep, in order for my Halucha to set up Sword Dance. So I Drain Punch away, Rock Slide the Poltergeist, and the Among Us, and Drain Punch the Quackaval twice in order to defeat the Director. But now it was time to battle Penny. So she had all evolutions, so this was fairly easy. Once again, I used the same strat, up max attack with Sword Dance, and just Drain Punch away, and Rock Slide the Flareon, Poison Jab the Leafeon, and Poison Jab her ace, the Sylveon. Now we have one last battle left, Champion Nemona. But I mean, do I even have to say what's gonna happen? I mean, you guys know the drill, you know, lowers accuracy, Yawn, Sword Dance, Drain Punch. I mean, I don't have to say this anymore, so you guys know the drill. I'm pretty sure you guys know what's gonna happen at the end as well. I mean, is there even a point in me doing a voiceover if you guys know what's gonna happen next? But anyways, we can now go to Area 0, where we meet with Nemona and Penny, and they're gonna help us out figure out the mystery of Area 0. After disabling the 4 locks and having no problem defeating the Paradox Pokemon, I went inside the lab and found out that the professor is actually an AI, and after having a deep conversation with her, it was now time to face her to end the game. Yawn, Mud Slap, set up Sword Dance with my Rey Mysterio, the Halucha, just destroy her team. Rock Slide the Slitherwing twice, Poison Jab the Screamtail, Poison Jab the Flutter Mane, Drain Punch the Sandy Shocks, Drain Punch the Brute Bonnet, and last but not least, Drain Punch the Roaring Moon to defeat her and beat the game with only Mexican based Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet. If you guys want to see more, leave a like and subscribe and let me know what other challenges I should do in the future. But anyways, you guys made it this far. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys on the next Pokemon challenge. You guys take care and peace.